Yo, what's up? Dr. Swole here, MD, pro physique athlete. Today I'm going to be giving you a full 6-day hypertrophy program based on the Arnold split. This is a moderate volume program well designed for intermediate to advanced bodybuilders. The Arnold split is set up like this. You have chest and back day, shoulders and arms day, and leg day. This is a 3-day segment that gets repeated later in the week, so you have a 6-day program. As you can see, it's kind of similar to push-pull legs, except it differs in the way your upper body is structured. Instead of having pushing movements and pulling movements, you divide your upper body into chest and back and shoulders and arms. This is going to have some unique applications that we'll talk about later. We'll start off by doing a program walkthrough where I'll share everything you'll need to know to run the program yourself, including exercises, sets, and reps. Then we'll talk about the weekly layout or how to spread out your days across the week. And finally, we'll talk about the pros and cons of this 6-day moderate volume Arnold split program. Alright, let's do our program walkthrough. This is Dr. Swole's Arnold split program. It's a moderate volume hypertrophy program set for an intermediate to advanced athlete. We've got chest and back day number 1, shoulders and arms day 1, legs day number 1, chest and back day number 2, shoulders and arms 2, and leg day number 2. Here are the exercises and there are the sets and reps. Down here we have the total number of sets for each workout so you have an idea of workout length. And down here we have the total number of sets for each muscle group each week. Let's start off with chest and back day. Our first exercise here is bench press for the chest. 3 sets, and we're using somewhat of a top set back off method here. You'll work up to 2 heavy top sets of 5 to 8 reps followed by a lighter back off set of 6 to 10 reps. After that, we have Smith machine rows for the back, 3 sets of 6 to 10. After that, machine pull downs for the back, 3 sets of 10 to 15. You'll see that on back days, I'll have a mix of vertical and horizontal pulling movements. Then we'll have dumbbell lateral raises for the side delts, 3 sets of 8 to 12. And finally, machine flies for the pecs, 3 sets of 10 to 15. Note here that I separated our chest movements with our back movements so that the chest has a bit of time to recover. This is somewhat of a stylistic point here, but I am trying to give you a bit of rest so that you perform better on these machine flies later on. Then we have shoulders and arms day number 1. We start off with machine overhead press, which trains the front delts, but also a bit of pecs and triceps, 3 sets of 6 to 10. Note that we had bench press, which is our main chest pressing movement on chest back day number 1. And on the day after, we do have a vertical pressing movement, but I've chosen a lower priority, lower fatigue machine movement here. You'll find that it is quite okay to place these 2 movements back to back, particularly since this machine overhead press is a lower priority. Then we have easy bar curls for the biceps, 3 sets of 6 to 10. After that, cable overhead extensions for the triceps, 3 sets of 8 to 12. And you can superset these with cable upright rows for the side delts, but also for the traps, 4 sets of 6 to 10. Finally, we have Bayesian curls for the biceps, 3 sets of 12 to 20. And these are basically a standing single arm curl with your arm actually behind your body. This allows you to tension the bicep when it's in a stretched position. Next, we have leg day number 1. We start off with squats for the quads. 3 sets. And we're going to use the same type of scheme we use for the bench press here. It's a top set back off. So you're going to work up to 2 top heavy sets of 5 to 8 reps using the same weight. And then 1 back off set of 6 to 10 reps using lighter weight. This will allow you to get in some heavier strength work while still accumulating a bit more volume in lighter rep ranges. Then we have barbell hip thrust for the glutes and hamstrings, 2 sets of 6 to 10. These are a very glute dominant movement over hamstrings, so if your hamstrings are a weakness and you're trying to prioritize them, you might want to put in another higher tension exercise for the hamstrings, like a variation of RDLs. Then we have leg press for the quads, 3 sets of 8 to 12. After that, leg press calf raises for the calves. We're using a MyRep scheme here, so you're going to work up to 1 main set of 8 to 12 reps, followed by 7 mini sets of 3 to 5 reps using the same weight and taking about 10 seconds in between all of these. This works out to around 5 straight sets. After that, we have leg curls for the hamstrings, 3 sets of 10 to 15. Going on to our second segment of the Arnold split, we're repeating our chest, back, shoulders, arms, and legs. With chest and back day number 2, we start off with incline Smith machine bench press, 3 sets of 6 to 10 reps. After that, we have cable rows for the back, 3 sets of 6 to 10. Cable rows can be programmed fairly heavy, but you do have to be careful that you're using tight technique. After that, we have chest supported rows for the back, 3 sets of 8 to 12. Machine lateral raises for the side delts, 3 sets of 12 to 20. And finally, dumbbell pullovers for the back, 3 sets of 10 to 15. I categorize pullover type movements as similar to vertical pull down movements. They are lower fatigue exercises since they're only a single joint, so you'll see me put them later in workouts with higher rep ranges. Note here that I have slightly easier back movements on this second chest and back day, and that's because we have a tough leg day coming beforehand with squats and hip thrusts. Our Smith machine row here is tougher because you do have that axial loading component, which are the compressive forces on your spine. You'll notice that I spread out axial loading, which are mainly in these movements, across days throughout the week, so that performance on one of these movements isn't affected by having them back to back. Going on to shoulders and arms day number 2, we start off with close grip bench press for the chest and triceps. 3 sets of 6 to 10. After that, we have hammer curls for the biceps, 3 sets of 6 to 10. Then we have cable press downs for the triceps, 3 sets of 8 to 12. And you can superset these with cable curls for the biceps, 3 sets of 10 to 15. Doing arm supersets feel amazing. You get a massive pump, and these are very time efficient. Finally, we have cable upright rows for the side delts, 4 sets of 10 to 15. Going on to leg day number 2, we start off with barbell back extensions for the glutes and hamstrings, 3 sets of 6 to 10. Using a barbell on the back extension machine is really smart because it allows you to load this movement precisely and heavily. Next, we have hack squats for the quads, 3 sets of 8 to 12. After that, Bulgarian split squats for the quads and the glutes and hamstrings, 2 sets of 8 to 12. And finally, leg extensions for the quads, 3 sets of 10 to 15. Wrapping up here, we have machine calf raises for the calves. We're also using a MyoRep scheme here, so 1 main set of 10 to 15 reps, followed by 7 mini sets of 3 to 5 reps with about 10 seconds in between all of these. Okay, now that you've seen the program, let's go over the weekly layout. So here's the layout of days. We have chest and back day number 1, shoulders and arms day number 1, leg day number 1, chest and back day number 2, shoulders and arms day number 2, leg day number 2, and rest. Let's talk about the ordering of days here. This is the traditional Arnold split setup. I actually find it works really well in this traditional setup for a few reasons. First of all, your heavier axial loading is relatively well spread out throughout the week. Your toughest training in any program is always going to be back and legs, and in this program, back and leg training is spread out nicely throughout the week. You do have back training coming after legs here, but you'll see we got around this by putting relatively easier back movements on this chest and back day as compared to this one. Notice that the timing of shoulders and arms day here is important. You want to have shoulders and arms coming after chest and back and not before. This is because your main compound movements on chest and back days are going to be higher priority overall than shoulder and arm movements, which train smaller muscle groups. If you were to have shoulder and arm day coming before a chest and back day, this would be suboptimal because your chest and back training does involve your biceps and triceps secondarily. So if those small muscle groups are really fatigued going into a chest and back day, you wouldn't perform as well. Notice that since the arms are used indirectly on chest and back days through your compound movements, and you'll see that I place some side delt work on our chest and back days, you end up having a 4 times per week frequency for your shoulders and arms. I like moving some of our side delt work onto chest and back days in this type of program because it allows me to jack up our side delt volume, and a lot of people are lacking in their side delts. And it also serves to even out the days because chest and back days can be relatively short because you have fewer muscle groups to train. Let's talk about the pros and cons of this Arnold split program. Starting off with the pros. This program allows you to train your shoulders and arms fresh. I think that's one of the biggest advantages of the Arnold split program, the dedicated shoulder and arm day. A lot of programs like push-pull legs and upper lower will have your arm training coming after your main chest and back movements. Since those small muscle groups are used indirectly with your compound pushing and pulling movements, they may be fatigued by the time you get to your direct work later and won't perform as well. But when you have your own shoulder and arm day, you really can attack those movements and have optimal productivity. Shoulders and arms are some of the most coveted muscle groups, and they're also ones that a lot of naturals are lacking in. So I do think it's worthwhile giving them some priority. The other thing that this program does is that it allows you to train those muscle groups with a high frequency. As we mentioned, you get increased frequency by splitting up chest and back from shoulders and arms. And you'll see that I split up our side delt work over 4 days, so we get a 4 times per week frequency for our shoulders and arms. Next, this program gives you some priority to your pressing movements. When we split up shoulders and arms from chest and back, we have the opportunity to put in heavy pressing movements that you might count for shoulders or triceps onto our shoulder and arm day. This allows your accessory pressing movements to shine here. So movements like close grip bench press, weighted dips, other bench press accessories or overhead pressing can go onto that shoulder and arm day, and you'll be able to train those movements when they're fresh. This will also allow you to increase your frequency of pressing, which can be helpful if pressing strength is a goal of yours. Finally, this program is going to be great for doing antagonist supersets, which are basically supersets where you alternate exercises training opposing muscle groups. For example, supersetting biceps and triceps or chest and back. I didn't specifically design this program with supersets in mind, but if you're really short on time, you could very easily alter your exercise selection a bit so you're supersetting as much as possible. I think time-saving techniques like this are really underrated because most people don't have hours and hours to spend in the gym every week. So you really want to make your training as minimal impact on your life as possible. Alright, now let's talk about the cons of this Arnold split program. The first and the biggest critique of the Arnold split is how you have shoulders coming the day after chest. As you saw, the split is chest, back, shoulders, arms, and then legs. Now you can get around this, and this is why I started this point. As you saw, I put a relatively lower priority overhead pressing movement, our machine overhead press, coming after bench press, so you're not going to have too much trouble putting those movements back to back. If you want to have a heavy bench press and a heavy overhead barbell press in the same program, then what you could do is you could put your heavy bench press in the first segment of the program. Then in your second segment of the week, you can put your lower priority chest movement on chest and back day number 2, and put your higher priority overhead press movement on shoulders and arms day number 2. This takes advantage of the fact that we have 2 segments of the Arnold split in the week, so with intelligent exercise selection, you can get around these problems. Finally, this program has back coming after legs. As we said, this is slightly suboptimal because a really tough leg day could impact your back training. But as you saw, I placed our heavier back movement, which involves axial loading, which in this program is our Smith machine row, and I put it on the first chest and back day. That day comes right after a rest day and it's separated from your leg training, so you should be able to give that movement justice. All in all, I think the Arnold split is an underrated program and has some major advantages over push-pull legs. If you are looking for a 6-day split, I would highly recommend trying this program, especially if shoulders and arms are a priority for you. If you want to see a really interesting Arnold split derivative that I designed myself, check out this video where I share a full hypertrophy program set up for 5 days per week using the Dr. Swole Arnold split. This is a hybrid split that combines my personal Dr. Swole split with the Arnold split into a 5-day setup. I will be sharing the program as an Excel file in my Facebook group, so join the group using the link in the description below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you really want to blow up your gains, and we'll see you next time.